right, welcome to our first proper review of the evening. This is The Police 2. Admittedly, this review is going to be a bit limited because I've never played the first one. And yeah, this was another one code affair, so it's just going to be me.
Yeah, I've heard decent
Yeah,
things about the first one, but never actually got around to getting it.
yeah.
Same.
So, as I understand it, this is The Police 1 and 2 are pretty similar, but this is The Police 2 change some mechanics. I don't really know what those are. I do not know the particulars. So that's not really going to be a factor in this review. Just putting that up front. Also, this is a fairly long game. Not sure exactly how many days this one runs. I did see the first one ran like 180 in-game days, but anyway, my point is I didn't get to finish said game. It's once again, this week has been busy. Getting back from a holiday, and it's like, believe me, I actually wanted to play more of this, but it's another case of, I had the visual novel, and the golf game to cover in 1 week, and two of those games only were one code, so it's not like other people could do it in my stead. So that's kind of, this is kind of, if my review here doesn't mention certain things, like, that's why. We it's like we have limited time to focus on things. I just feel like that's important. Anyway, so this is The Police 2 is a very curious game. Or rather games, because it's a hodgepodge of genres here. I'm trying to think. Like, there's probably at least 4 different genres going on here, not at the same time. Like, each thing is compartmentalized, but I'd say the main genre is strategic management. Not quite on the level of, say, Civilization or SimCity or anything like that, but in the ballpark. Like, as your main task day in, day out is to respond to crime, but there's other things going on here. For example, a very serious crime, you have to gather a squad, and then it becomes a tactical strategy game. It's like, it's all of a sudden Fire Emblem, or fucking Shining Force. Maybe not, certainly not as in depth as something like that, but it's a fairly decent strategy game, all things considered.
Now, is it like actually Fire Emblem, where if you like lose an officer or whatever, they're gone forever, or is it just?
It depends.
Hmm.
It depends. Well, if they get killed, they will be gone. I forget if you get like. I don't think you. I'm trying to think if you get a replacement. For that particular. Here's the thing. I was on a strategy mission, and my characters kept getting killed. I kept losing cops, and I kept resetting. I know how to do the Fire Emblem thing.
Yeah, that's how you do it correctly. No one will ever tell me otherwise.
Yeah. It's like that's at the part where I, last stopped and didn't get back to the game. So I'm like, well, no. I think I just passed on the mission. Like that. Maybe I'm thinking of another mission. Anyway, point of order is your goal is to, either kill people or arrest people. And that is taken into account in the mechanics. Also, how you do in the main section, you as you level up your cops, you'll get perks to use in the strategy section. But
Mhm.
I have mentioned there are other parts. There's also the investigations. Like sometimes a crime will be committed, it's not an active scene, so you've got to open an investigation. Um, it's like I'm not exactly sure what to compare this to. Like maybe a like I'd say this and the other part, which is the main storyline, are most comparable to visual novel
Mhm.
gameplay, because
Mm.
how the investigation work is you've got to gather clues and put all the pieces together, quite literally, because the end goal here is to get about 6 photographs, 7 maybe. Like, well, the point of order is you've got the beginning and the ends of the crime du jour, and you literally have to fill in the blanks.
Mhm.
And there are usually like one or two suspects. And the thing is, it's not done Phoenix Wright style. You are not actually exploring the um, crime scene for clues. You send officers to go and search for clues that relate to the crime scene that will connect the proper suspect to the crime. You use that. You place the pictures you take in order, and that all flows into the main game as well, because um, doing an investigation takes resources. In like investigating clues takes a police officer. Uh, Looking for one set of pictures takes a police officer. So you can have up to 3 police officers working on one case, and you can have multiple cases open.
Mhm.
So that's another management strategy facet here. How many people you got working over on this thing, because um, you know your main task day to day is to respond to active crime scenes. And
So it's not like one of those where there are times you just be dealing with like a simple traffic stop. You're actually dealing with like heinous crimes and whatnot.
um, potentially, sometimes there are false alarms.
Mhm.
Sometimes there are minor. Yeah, it goes all the way from a traffic ticket to attempted homicide or homicide.
Mhm.
Like, it's like violent assault. As somebody's waving a gun around, what have you. And your task is to assign police officers to deal with the situation. Now,
Mhm.
breaking it down into the actual strategy part, you've got to have like manpower is done on a point scale. You've got to make sure you got the proper amount of point force. Like like if a crime requires a point level of 300, you got to send at least one cop that's 300 or more in order to take the mission. And
Mhm.
it breaks down even further, because um, police officers they're not cogs.
Yeah.
They have quirks, a lot of quirks. Like
Like, say you could send your hostage negotiator to something else, and you end up needing him later.
something like that. There are proficiencies. Like, yes, negotiation is a skill set. Stealth is a skill set. Strength is a skill set, and so on and so forth. It's like the better they are in said skill, yeah, the better that they will fare in dealing with the situation. You know, it's just you know, and they don't have to be specialized. Like, it's not that detailed of a system. That's kind of an issue with this game. Overall, it is a jack of all trades. It's a master of none.
Mhm.
But getting back into the deeper strategy mechanics, your police officers, uh, they will get they will do things. Like a big one that comes up is alcoholism. Like, um, you know, very often you will have police officers who, if they show up at all, they will be inebriated. And you do have to take it into that account because, like, if they're driving, and this actually happened to me, they will crash and they will get injured. And injured cops will be unusable for X amount of days, depending on the severity of the injury. Like, I've had a cop that was out for a day. Most were out for 2. One was out for 4 days. So injuries play a part. One of the bigger obscured mechanics is loyalty. You have loyal cops and disloyal cops. And you can tell this by if they're wearing a hat. Loyal cops will, you know, follow your orders, show up on time. They will be cooperative.
If only loyalty was so easy to discern in real life.
Yes. You know, if a cop doesn't have a hat, they will be belligerent to your orders. They will do things like not show up every day. Or they will say, I'm not going on this mission for reasons. You know, and they can develop even further quirks. Like, I had one of my top officers be a raging misogynist.
Oh boy.
I'm like, misogyny is actually kind of an issue with this game. But anyway, yeah, he just would, you know, he had a hat, but he just flat out refused to work with a woman because he thought that you have to babysit. See, these are the kinds of things you have to deal with.
So what you're saying is it's a very realistic game.
Yeah, it's it's got the realism, although very realistic. Honestly, if you know, I'm like, if a cop was showing up fucking drunk, if cops were showing up as drunk as these fucking people were, there would be no police department.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, I'm like, drunk cops happen a lot. I guess the realism part is because you are in a shithole out of nowhere town, and that ties into the fourth major gameplay system, the storyline, and the choose your own adventure portion. Basically, you know, it's one of those, you know, your choices now will affect the things down the line. You know, mostly it's done at the start of every day. There's a storyline segment, and you will be given different choices to pick in various contexts. But there's also, you know, tying it to the main game, there are also missions you can take of dubious nature that will affect things overall. So, you know, laying it all out, I'm pretty amazed at how, in spite of how segmented everything is, it does all tie together. Maybe not stringently, but more than I would have initially expected. Like, and right. There is a lot to this game. I'm like, the storyline itself is, from what I've gathered, a continuation, sort of a continuation of the first game, in the sense that you are actually playing the protagonist of the first game here again. And that was actually one of my biggest problems with this game, because as it turns out, he's on the run from the law. Like, and he's like a federally wanted fugitive. And okay, and he's put in charge of a segment of this police department because the women sheriff can't hack it. yeah, this was bad, and whoever created this should feel bad.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I get that it's another realism thing, but here's the thing: I just could not buy. It's like, yeah, I got the impression that the sheriff here was out of her depth, and she just lost her right hand in a violent shootout. I get that, but it's like there's a difference between that and it's like the guy, the actual character you're playing as can't really without the name because well he says he's one person but he's actually another person. He's using a fake name. That's how wanted he is. But apparently this town is so out of the way that nobody's gonna notice the federally wanted fugitive who's on the fucking like FBI's most wanted list or something like that. He's really fucking wanted, yet nobody fucking recognizes him.
Does it say like what time frame this is supposed to be? Is this supposed to be like modern day?
It's the late 1980s. It's like even taking into account that the internet isn't really a thing and all that stuff. Like
Yeah.
VCRs are still prevalent. Like that's still like the main way of watching movies and such. To give you an idea of where this is taking place technologically. I just could never buy the idea that the entire fucking police force would be ignorant of somebody this fucking wanted by the feds.
Yeah.
Clearly, he just is very careful to rip down all of the wanted posters for himself, or alternately draw Groucho Marx.
Yeah.
On them.
And by the way, this ties into another gameplay mechanic because what you got to do, like each week, you got to pay blackmail money. Because of events that happen in the storyline. You've also got to pay $20,000 per week, or else the blackmailer will leave an anonymous tip to the feds. I'm like, so you're going to be fine the first week because you have $20,000, but you can still you're supposed to either save money or gather money by taking dubious missions. And I will note that money, surprisingly, is fairly worthless because there are actually two currency systems. You got the money here for primarily the blackmail thing. Like some other money cash things came up, but oddly enough, the way you recruit new officers, the way you buy police equipment, yes, you can buy equipment like batons, stun grenades, tasers, what have you, taser cartridges. But you do all that by gathering soda can tabs or beer can tabs.
Is this Fallout?
Apparently, no, seriously, this is apparently some like informal currency system. But I'm buying tear gas grenades with, fucking Budweiser tabs.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's totally sanctioned.
Yeah, I'm like, and the way it works is, arresting criminals, saving civilians, even killing suspects will net you beer tabs. I'm like, yeah, killing suspects, totally fine. You'll just only get like a tab or two, but that is preferable to letting them escape or letting civilians get harmed or missing missions. Those will take away beer tabs, and that's your that's the currency that matters to getting new stuff. And it's like if you use a stun grenade either in a strategy segment or on a call, that's used. You've got to buy another one. It was hard keeping taser cartridges around.
I imagine this would drive Naka up the wall.
It's possible, like given his OCD. Like I said, there's a lot at play here, and it's all rather elegantly connected. Because it's like as there's a lot of ways this could have gone wrong in terms of mechanics and such. Let's see. So the aesthetics are interesting because if if you look at screenshots, if everything is very highly stylized.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like faces. Sometimes faces won't show up at all. Sometimes they will. It's all high contrast colors, and I'm not exactly sure what you call this thing, but I'm like, it's very striking. As is the music. The music surprised me in that I wasn't expecting a lot of jazz.
Oh man, smooth jazz.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I thought, I kept thinking, okay, I'm supposed to be in what, North Dakota? Why do I sound like, why does it sound like we're in New Orleans? Like, that's not every track. Like, there was some country in there and some, I'm not even sure what to describe that one track.
Oh, God.
Like, but yeah, it's like the music is surprisingly relaxing. Like, sorry, this is just a lot to cover. Now, in case it isn't readily apparent.
Yeah.
Now, pricing is actually very reasonable. So, what we got here is the base game, at least on Steam. It's like, as far as I've seen, the universal price digitally is $14.99, $15. I do know there is a physical edition of this. Give me a sec while I look for that on like Amazon.
Because sometimes those cost more.
Yeah, because
I'd say fairly often.
Well, it's like, and also keep in mind, well, actually, surprisingly not, apparently. Or at least not too... they're having a sale. At least on the Nintendo Switch version.
Ah.
Yeah, Amazon lists... This is the Police 2 for the Nintendo Switch. Oh, right. This game is available for all major platforms.
Is that including mobile or actual consoles?
I'd say eventually, because This is the Police 1 just got released onto mobile devices not like a week ago or so. Like, it just got released.
Because to me personally, this looks like another one of those, pick up and fiddle with it on my phone for a little bit instead of at my computer.
I'll be honest, it's a bit like in terms of PC, actual like PC strategy or console strategy, it's a bit light. That's kind of what I was getting at with my comment. Like, it's got a lot of different systems that are pretty well integrated within each other, but like the strategy segment feels limited and shallow in comparison to something that's dedicated to that entire genre. If you want to put the management portion up against, say, Tropico, it's going to lose every time. It's just not that deep in comparison. But that wasn't the focus here.
Right.
Anyway, so this is $30 on the Nintendo Switch, and it's usually most expensive on the Switch because of cartridges.
Well, and does it come with anything extra, or is it just the game? Because sometimes they pack in like a strategy guide or a poster or something to help justify that.
No, this is a THQ Nordic release. They're not limited run or any one of those. This is a proper physical release for the masses. But what I'm looking at here, apparently the Xbox One version is $30, and let me check like the PlayStation 4. No, that is the first one. Let's see. Do they have a PC physical release?
If you're in Europe, probably.
Looks like the PC. Looks like there is, but it's out of print. Maybe just in Europe. Anyway, so the physical edition, from what I can see, is going to run you $30, and that's new. Mind you, this game has been out a while, so that's why, like, Amazon has it on sale. You know, like the Switch version is going for $2 more than the digital price. You know, that's probably not a permanent thing. But anyway, in terms of and we've got more pricing things to get through because, it's like on Steam, we've got the base game for $15. We've got the soundtrack for $8. Like, and
so if you're into cool jazz,
yeah, it's like, and we've got the bundle. But here's the thing: it's not the usual. Here's the game and the soundtrack. It is both. This is the Police games, and they're clocking in at $26.98. Like, and it's hard. You know, it's like, I'd say, just on the base game, it's go for the bundle. It's like, it's like that combined will run you the physical edition of This Is the Police 2.
Mm-hmm.
And, given what I've seen, you can wrangle both of those games, say if you want them physically, for about the same price right now. Like, as far as the soundtrack, I'd actually say this is worth listening to outside. In fact, I did that very thing the other day. Although I think that was like the first one. Still, the two games aren't doing things all that differently. So yeah, the first game soundtrack is similar to the second game soundtrack. But overall, This Is the Police 2 worth a purchase? I'd say so. If it's like, if you're not looking for depth, at least in terms of what this game is offering in terms of gameplay. It's like, if you want a strategy tactical kind of game, go buy something that's dedicated to that. If you want something that's really focused on say visual novel gameplay, well, we'll cover that in our next review. Like, for example. But if you're looking something that has a lot of interesting systems cobbled together, with a surprising amount of connective tissue, then yeah, I'd say go with this. Like, on the arbitrary numbering scale, a 7.5. Solid, not spectacular, but solid. And yeah, I think that'll about cover This Is the Place 2. So be sure to tune in after the break as we review our final game for the evening, Kara no Shoujo.